YouTube. Today in the Naughty Librarian, I'm going over my end of March wrap-up. So today, I'm actually trying that whipped coffee that's going everywhere around the internet. I made it and it is delicious. And I am a classy lady, so I put it in an enormous wine glass. You know, coffee. In the second half of March, I read an additional 5 books. Technically 4.5 books, but we'll get into that later. So there's been some ups and some downs. I'm finding it hard to focus on reading. I think that's kind of going around for everybody with this quarantine, that it's just difficult to focus. So yeah, I've been reading a little slower than usual lately, and I don't know, I'm just taking it one day at a time. So there was some really good ones and some not so good ones. Let's get into it. First category is a romance, and I read 2 of those. First things first, I read My Fake Rake by Eva Leigh. And this one, it is a Regency era romance, and it is basically a big old friends to lovers makeover rom-com full of tropes. Like really, it is so tropey. It's a whole trope of, oh no, my best friend is now hot. These kisses are only supposed to be instructional. And all the tropes, all of the tropes are in this. It is the tropiest of rom-coms. This one in particular are following Grace and Sebastian, and they're both kind of nerds, so this is like a nerd love book. And they're both scholars, and Grace is just like, oh, I need to get married. My dad wants me to get married. And she's like, oh, but I like this one guy. He's like a naturalist, and he's super hot, but he doesn't like notice me. Hey, Sebastian, you're my friend. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I've got an idea. So she's like, Sebastian, we're gonna make you over so you're a rake, and then you can like woo me, and then natural boy will be like, oh, she's a lady, I forgot, and like be into her. And then Simon's like, oh, okay, because he is basically if a cinnamon roll became like a guy with abs. So they do the rakish makeover, and he has all these like hot friends too. There's gonna be more books in the series with all Sebastian's friends, because there's all these like little, like they all met at school and they're all friends still. Anyway, there's this guy who's a duke who's kind of like a devil may care guy, and he's just like, fine, I'll help you nerds, because you're not gonna do this on your own. So makeover montage ensues. There are laugh out loud funny moments of him trying his best to not be a nerd. So it doesn't always work out well, but sometimes it does. And then Grace is like, oh shit, Sebastian's hot? Oh my. And then like Sebastian's just like, I really like Grace, oh no. And then they spend a lot of the book trying to deny that they like each other, which is stupid. So for a lot of the book, I just wanted to grab both their heads and be like, just kiss. So that was like the drama here. Just like, kiss, and they don't for a long time, but they do, because you know it's gonna be a happy ending, and it's the biggest tropey ending you can imagine. Oh my gosh, you know, like the big declaration moment. So many tropes. It's full of tropes. So overall, it was pretty delightful. Like I had a nice time with it. Have I read better things? Arguably yes. However, it had a lot of things I do enjoy. It has nerds, cinnamon rolls with abs, and like, you know, just rom-com tropes. It's fun, it's delightful. I think I gave it like 4 stars, because it was fun. It was a light, easy read, but it's not like, you know, reinventing the wheel here, but it was pretty fun. I also decided to read Pestilence by Laura Thalassa, and I do realize reading a book about, you know, pestilence, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, writing about the country and spreading plague to everybody, so everyone's dying horrible plague-filled deaths, as a romance, it's probably not the right time to be reading it in this climate. I'm not sure why it didn't click in my brain sooner that I was going to be reading a romance based around a pandemic whilst in a pandemic in real life. So, this one's a little hard to read at the moment. I don't recommend picking up right now. Perhaps in the later future, when this has passed, it will not hit so close to home. I'm just gonna cut to the chase. I gave it like 3.5 stars. Like, it was alright. I thought it was good. Not the best thing I've read, honestly. Like, there was a lot of like questionable logic going on here. And I'll get to that in a minute, but the things I did like about this was that it was very well written. surprisingly. Maybe it was also the climate we're in currently, but there are some times where, ooh, she writes suffering expertly. Like the suffering these characters go through in this book, the plague people who get it and they're suffering. Like she writes good suffering. So like there were moments I'm just like silently crying while reading. Not like ugly crying, like I wasn't like hit really hard in the feels, but just like silent tears while reading. So it did get me. I'll give it that. It did have like expertly written parts, so I did think the author has some talent. And like overall it was paced well. It had its moments where I thought it was pretty good. However, there was a lot of like logic problems here, and I'll get into that. So we're following this woman, Sarah, and, you know, Pestilence. He takes her prisoner to torture her, but mind you, when she met him, she did shoot him in the face with a shotgun and then set him on fire. So, you know, it wasn't really a meet cute, so I got over the fact that she was his prisoner and being tortured. I'm like, she kind of started the fight. So that's like a problematic content thing, but like I was able to get over it because I mean, she set him on fire. You kind of have to, you know, get what you give here. So I got over that. That was all right. And okay, here's the deal. So Pestilence, this guy who has kidnapped her to torture and does torture her, like it's not pleasant for a while. And then she's like, but he's so hot. She keeps like getting like so attracted to this guy. And it's just like, I get it. You know, he's somewhat angelic. He's one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. He probably looks hot. I get that. But the fact of the matter is, you have seen him spread plague to millions of people. He has taken you around town whilst spreading plague, so you see it happen to people. Like, he kills children on page with his plague. Several children get murdered by plague right in front of her. And she's just like, but that ass though. And I'm like, I don't get it. Like, maybe it's just me, but if I saw someone purposely give plague to children to let them die right in front of me, I'm gonna be as dry as the Sahara, okay? Like, it's not doing it for me here. So I don't understand the attraction. And also, like, he isn't a human. He is the embodiment of the idea of pestilence that is explained in the book. So he has to figure out what human shit is. Like, what is food? How do people eat it? What is, like, this? What is that? Like, he's figuring out what emotions are. He's catching feels for the first time. And that was kind of interestingly written, but I don't understand Sarah's, like, thought process in her attraction to him, because I don't understand the attraction. Like I said, there's nothing he can do after that point to make me, like, want to get with him. And it's not like he can't help it either. It's not like, oops, I gave these kids plague, I feel bad about it. Like, he kind of feels bad about it, but the thing is, he's perfectly capable of controlling the plague. Like, he doesn't have to give it to people. Sarah's not special. She's not immune to the plague, he just didn't give it to her. He's perfectly capable of not infecting children with the plague, but he does it anyway. So it's just like, why do you want to jump his bones? So those questions are at the forefront of my mind with this book. I don't understand the attraction here because it just doesn't compute for me at all. But I mean, it was well written. I don't understand the attraction, but it was well written. So 3.5 stars? I think maybe I shouldn't have read it right now. This is not the time to be reading a plague-based romance. But there you go. Next category is Cool Magicians, and I read 2 books featuring them. Surprise of all surprises, I read A Big Ship at the Edge of the Universe by Alex White, and I was expecting pure sci-fi. And it tricked me because it looks sci-fi, it's about spaceships. However, everybody in it's got magic. So it's like a fantasy that is wrapped in a sci-fi story. So maybe that's why I liked it so much. I gave it like 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed this book. So this is like a cheater sci-fi. If you're like me and you're much more of a magic over technology kind of girl, this is gonna be the one for you because it has lots of magic in it and also spaceships. So yeah, this is a cheater sci-fi and it was great for me. It kind of has Firefly vibes, you know, that TV show from a while ago. I'm a big fan of the show, and there's a lot of stories, a lot of books They say they have Firefly vibes, and I'm like, you didn't do it right. You took all the bad things about that and put it into a book. However, this one, I think it takes all the good things about Firefly and like reimagines them with wizards. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't Firefly have wizards? Yes, I love this. So we're kind of following a ragtag group of misfits. They're all kind of veterans of this war that they lost, and they're all kind of on the hunt for this spaceship that's supposed to be like really super powerful. It's like a legend spaceship, and no one's seen it in like a long ass time. It's lost. If you find it, there's like treasure and shit. So it's kind of a treasure hunt story. Our two main protagonists are this girl named Nyla, who is basically speed racer. She is a race car driver, but they power their race cars with magic. And I was like, yes, magical race cars, give me more. The book starts with her getting framed for murder, so I'm like, oh, we're off to like a crazy start here. Okay. And then we're also following this woman named Boots. She is one of the veterans of this war. She's trying to make her way in life. She was kind of a washed up treasure hunter type of character who is now on the run because she sold a bad map to the wrong people. So both these characters have problems. But what did you know? One of their problems seems to be the same thing, because there's this like evil witch person out to get both of them, so they kind of end up teaming up. Not really. Like, they didn't like choose to team up with each other. They both kind of get captured by the same people, and they're like, oh, well, we're friends now. It's definitely a space adventure. There's spaceships, there's space battles, there's all of that cool stuff you want in a sci-fi. And there's also magic fights where they throw like magic fire spells and like crazy shit, and like it's this really interesting world that's built here around people with magic also having spaceships, and I love it intensely. It's a cheater sci-fi, and I am here for it. So if you're like me and you're more of a fantasy person over sci-fi, this is a good book for you because it has a lot of fantasy elements as well as sci-fi elements, and it was super action-packed, and I had so much fun reading this. Like, literally, when I closed the book, when I finished it, I'm like, wow, that was really fun. That was my first thought. So I think that's a good first thought to have after reading a book. It was so fun that I actually want to continue on with the series. I thought this was really fun. I gave it 4.5 stars. You know what? I'll give it 5 stars. Screw it. Why am I being stingy with my stars? It could have 5. It's got 5. I gave it the extra half. It's getting 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed this one. I do want to continue on. It was fun. There you go. It's just fun, and sometimes you just want a book that's freaking really fun to read, and this is it. I also read Unkindness of Magicians by Kat Howard. I think at the end I gave this 4 stars. I did really genuinely enjoy it. The world building here is very fascinating. It's kind of, it takes place in New York and the unseen world. So basically there's all these magical dynasties, like magical houses. And every so often they have this thing called turning where they all have to go fight each other. It's like a magical dueling. And then whoever's comes out on top of these duels, you know, it's like March Madness but for magicians. Whoever comes out on top is like the champion, and they kind of run the magical world until the next turning happens. So, you know, the stakes are high, and in these dueling battles, they start off kind of lower stakes, like if you lose, you lose, but then they progress to like if you lose, you're getting killed. So people do die in these battles. They're very dangerous. In particular, we're following this woman named Sydney, and she is kind of the wild card in this turning because she's an outsider. She's not really part of these magical families, and yet she is the champion for one of the houses. So, you know, she's in there just mixing it up. No one knows what to make of her, really. And, you know, there's this big magical conspiracy about where they get magic from, and it's unscrupulous, and it's interesting. I really like the world building here. The whole entire time I was reading this, I was like, gosh, I wish this was a TV show. Like, this would be a sick TV show because there's so many side characters and side plots going on that occasionally get like a side things that aren't about Sydney. And I was just picturing it as a TV show. It felt like it was told in hour-long segments. I don't know. If you've read it, tell me if I'm accurate. Does it feel like this is a TV show you're reading? It's very visual, and there's little aside moments with the different characters doing different things for different reasons. There's like a murder mystery subplot. There's like, you know, a conspiracy side plot. There's just like magical battle plot. There's like a lot of different plots going on, and they all come together in the end. And you know what? I liked it. I had a good time reading this. It's definitely very moody, I would say. It feels moody, like the covers is like grayish silver color, and I'm like, ooh, yeah, this book feels gray. It feels moody, you know, like that moody storm cloud vibe. That's what I get out of it. That probably doesn't make sense to anybody, but it makes sense in my soul. It's like dangerous magic, exciting magic, fights, battles, different side plots. It's really good. It feels very visual, like it would be a great TV show, like an episodic series, and I liked it. I had a good time with it. It's very moody though. It's not necessarily fun, it's more moody, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was pretty good. Last category is thrillers, and I read one of them. I started reading A Madness of Sunshine by Nalini Singh. And I say I started reading it because I actually DNF'd. Okay, I'll explain. I feel like I'm letting down a lot of people here because this has been recommended to me by like so many of my friends. They're all like, oh, I'm so excited you're reading it. I loved it. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm probably gonna love this too. Like all my friends like it. And then I start reading it and I'm just like, am I a monster? Like, why don't I like this? This has happened to me a lot. And these are my friends. I trust their opinions, but like they've been doing me dirty lately. I didn't like this at all. I thought it was very dull. It's a murder mystery and it takes place in New Zealand, which I appreciate. Hey, I don't read a lot of books happening in New Zealand. I know Nalini Singh is from New Zealand, so that was kind of cool. It was an interesting setting. But I think for me, and maybe just in general, thrillers are supposed to provide a sense of tension. You know what I mean? Like the stakes need to be there and there needs to be a sense of growing tension here. You need to like build here. You need something to build to. You have to keep building till you get to that climax and then you're like, oh my gosh, that's the killer. And that makes it really, really good to read. That's gonna blow your mind. This one is like nothing is happening. There is no tension whatsoever. I feel like the red herrings they're throwing here are so blatant that it's just like that it seems very heavy-handed. I have a feeling I know who the killer is, but I haven't skimmed ahead to read it because I don't care. Maybe it's going to pick up, but I've read like 50% of this and nothing has happened. They still haven't even found the body. There's this girl that everyone in town, you know, the pretty girl, the charming girl, everyone's like really like likes this girl. She goes missing and everyone's like, well, we've got to find this girl. What if she hurt? And as time goes on, they're like, yeah, she's probably definitely dead. So they're trying to find the body, and by 50% of the way through this, they still haven't found the freaking body. For me, I feel like for an investigation to start so they can gather clues and like hunt for the killer, they should have a body much sooner than after 50% of the way through the book. Perhaps that's just me, but like how is he hunting for clues? They don't even know. They have no idea what happened, where it happened, who did it, who she last talked to. They have no clues. So it's just like a guy going around town talking to people, and then people have, you know, like bad family lives, and it's just like, this is boring as shit. What is going on with the main plot of the story, which is finding this dead girl? They still haven't found her by 50%. For me, I think 30% is the longest you can stretch not having a body. Because you need to have the body so you can get clues, so you can figure out who killed her, and then have a real investigation, but they have nothing to investigate. It's literally just like, she's somewhere, and it's, oh my gosh, there's no tension. It's just people in a small town, like, casually being mean to each other, because they've all been around each other for so long that they're sniping. And I was so bored. And I don't know if it's me, and it's just, this is the book I could not get into, because I'm kind of having a hard time reading a lot lately. I think I'm not only the only one here. Being stuck inside in quarantine, you kind of lose focus, and you're just like not wanting to read. So I don't know if that was the book for me, and this is just a book I was just not focusing on, but like, it was really boring. There's no tension here. Like, zero tension. And it was so dull that like I was like, all right, I'm gonna do a reading sprint. I'm gonna get somewhere in this, and then I'd look at it and be like, you know what? I bet there's more ghost hunter shows I haven't seen. I'm gonna go on Hulu. So yeah, I watched a lot of ghost hunting shows instead of reading this, because at least ghost hunting shows have tension. they're actively looking for something rather than just like having people be catty. It was so dull. Like, I can't really give much more of a review on it than that because I did not finish it and I don't care to. But, yeah, it just, nothing was going on for so long. And then, like, the main character of this isn't the girl who went missing. It's not the killer. It's not even, like, the lead investigator. It's just some lady who came back to the town after she left for 10 years. Why is she the protagonist? She has nothing to do with any of these people. I am so confused by a lot of things here. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, yeah, I DNF'd. I'm not feeling it. I don't think I'm ever going to pick it up again. I don't know. It was dull, there was no tension, and I gave up. End of story. So this second half of March, there were some ups and there were some downs. But overall, like, most of the books I read, I really did enjoy. So, you know, I had a good time. Let me know in the comments down below, what have you been reading lately? Or have you also been having a really hard time focusing on books because you're trapped indoors all the time? Let me know in the comments down below. Or, hey, did you read any of these books and did you like them or hate them? All of those good things can go in the comments. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon.